That movie clip is from Gabby's Dollhouse. It's a cute movie. There's not too many movies about dollhouses, so, what I'm doing today is I'm taking a few items that I picked up last summer, and this is a broken 1/12 size sewing machine, treadle sewing machine, and I'm going to upscale this a bit. I don't like the real shiny surface, and I want to paint more details on the machine itself and take off the little bits that are clinging to the top of it. So I'm going to start with removing that piece of fabric, and I'm going to reuse that. I think it's just glued down with some kind of a cement glue. It isn't hard to peel off, so I'm just going to peel that off as carefully as possible, and hopefully I won't damage the surface, and maybe I can just get it all off in one go. And it was broken. The treadle pieces underneath that operate the treadle were broken off, but they were together. And I only paid $3 for this, so it was worth it. And so I'm going to reattach that and use some chrome paints, gold and silver, to make the sewing machine look a little better. And I'll repurpose those scissors too. I don't know if I'll damage those spools of thread or not. I'm going to try to get them off, but we'll see what happens. And I'm going to take the knobs off as well and replace those. And this is from my 1930s dollhouse attic sewing room. And in those days, people would have been still using treadle machines. I still use a treadle machine. I have an antique treadle machine, and I love that thing. And of course, I live near the Amish, and they all use treadle machines, sewing machines where I live, the old order Amish, and they have new ones, actually. They still make them. And this is a little sewing box I picked up from Temu. And it's, I don't know, it's kind of cheesy. But I'm going to repaint this and fix it up as well. I'm going to cut those pieces of flimsy ribbon on the side off. I'm going to leave everything else the same, except I'm going to paint the outside and make it match the sewing machine a little better. So it's cute. And I'm going to speed up the film here so that you can see what I'm doing. I'm just pointing out that piece of fabric that I'm going to save and what it looks like on the top. So I ripped that off pretty easily, actually, and I folded it up and put it aside. And that's what I'm doing. I'm just going to fold it up. And now I have to figure out how to get those scissors off, and those spools of thread were easy to get off, but I don't think I can save those. There's too much glue on them. And the scissors, it's a little trickier. It was pretty tricky getting those off, but I did manage to get them off later. But I thought, well, I'll start sanding it first and make sure that there's no varnish that's glopped around or glue. And I'm just using a few sanding tools to do that. And I'm using 600 grit sandpaper. And this also, I'm going to sand the whole thing because the varnish is so slippery that the paint won't stick to that very well. Needs a little tooth. And that I had to use a diamond rasp on it to get the glue off. There's an awful lot of glue on it. I used the X-Acto knife and it came off pretty well. There it is. And it has a glop of glue on that, but I'll get that off somehow, because I'm going to use the scissors somewhere else in the same scene. So I'm just going to sand all the way around, as I said, and then I'll go over it once with 1,000 grit sandpaper too. And I'm going to take those little knobs off. They're just beads, and I could use them for something else, I suppose. I'm just sanding all the gluey spots down so they're not sticking up. Otherwise, this piece is in good shape. I've seen these for sale in other places online, and I don't know, I can't remember how much I saw them for sale for. I think they were something like $10 maybe, and I paid $3, so that's a good deal. And I'm just going to use some apple barrel burnt umber to cover the whole thing. And I'll put a thin layer on first, and then I'll let that dry, and then I'll paint it again. And I'm just being careful to get it around the sewing machine so I don't get it on the metal part. It is a little metal machine, and the mechanism underneath in black is also metal, so that's good. And the little drawers are in front. Are split in two. None of the drawers open, of course. It's just a block of wood on each side. And I just went over the whole thing with the first coat, and it dried pretty quickly, and then I gave it a second coat. I hope my sound is okay. I'm actually in my kitchen recording this. We've been having some problems with our furnace. We do heat with wood mostly, but it is rather cold here, and the upstairs is, there's a little close-up, kind of noisy for some reason, noisier than the kitchen. Okay, I fixed the bottom part by just sticking those two pieces of wire back in, bending them. They were just detached. So it was a very simple fix. And this is the second coat of paint. And I'm just going around making sure I don't smear it onto the black portions. I'm just using a Q-tip to clean it up a little. It's a cute little sewing machine. It's perhaps a tad small for a 1/12, but it's fine. As I said before, and I'll say it again, I am not that concerned about minor size differences in this dollhouse. I really want this to look like it's a toy. I'm not trying to duplicate a completely realistic environment, and I have a lot of respect for that, and someday I'm going to do one like that, a dollhouse interior. But for this one, there's a sort of mixture, mostly, simple objects with more detailed ones. Here's some chrome paint. I'm going to paint the wheel, the turn wheel. I can't remember what it's called. And just the outside of it, I'm going to paint silver. Just like mine has a silver one, stainless steel, it looks like chrome or whatever, which actually turns the mechanism of the machinery. And I'll put some silver on the bobbin on top and on the place where the needle is placed underneath as well. And then there's the plate that goes where the feed dog is. It's called a feed dog, where the bobbin thread is placed underneath. I'll paint that later because the whole thing wouldn't be black. And the front will be gold of the machine, the very front plate. So let that dry. I'll have to put a couple coats of that chrome marker on it. Those chrome markers work pretty well. This is the gold, and I'm just going to put the front is going to be gold, just like on the older machines, the Singer ones. I'm sure you've all seen them. Okay. And there it is, painted. It's not completely done. I have to do the feed dog, the plate that goes over where the bobbin is kept. And there's another view. It was already painted with those decorations, the gold and red, so I just left those alone. And now I'm going to put new handles on the front, and these are fingernail embellishments, and I have some gold ones that I'm going to put across the top of each drawer, and I'll put a black bead on top of each one of those as well. And I'm using super glue, the Ultra Control Gel glue, because I don't like the runny stuff. Makes it more difficult to work with, so just going to stick those on. Get them straight. It gives it a little more of a Victorian look, I know. But it's not unreasonable for the 1930s for people to have treadle machines. And as I've said, many people have treadle machines that are new now. You can buy them new. Okay. And you can always buy an antique one and fix it up like I did. There's lots of parts for them. There. Okay. And there you can see the mechanism has been fixed. And I still have to paint the feed dog plate that goes over the bobbin area. And I think it looks a lot better now. I really didn't like that shiny surface on it. And now I'm going to touch it up a little bit here and there and work on the sewing box that I got from Temu last year. And I think I only paid $2 for the sewing box. I'm going to touch up the silver a little better. I have a real fine brush. Now, this kind of paint is kind of like using tester's paint. It is, you can't clean the brush unless you put a solvent on it. And what I do is I dip, if it's a natural hairbrush, it can be cleaned, and I just dip it in fingernail polish, wipe it off, polish remover rather, it's acetone, and then I clean it with water. There, I'm painting the feed dog. And on my sewing machine, it has a plate that's rounded, and you push it, and then it shows the bobbin mechanism underneath. And there's the fingernail polish remover I'm using to clean the brush. Now you can't use that on a synthetic brush. It will melt the fibers, so the bristles. And these are the markers I'm using, these chrome markers, gold and silver. And I'm just going to give it another touch up all the way around and clean the brush. There, that's done. And I think it turned out rather well. It didn't take very long. It took me about an hour and a half to paint this and fix it. I, of course, speeded up the video so you don't have to sit there for an hour and a half and watch it. And I'm just cleaning the brush, putting it aside for now. Now, this is a brush that was ruined. I left it. It is a natural bristle brush, and I'll show you. You can restore brushes. You have to put it in the cleaner, work it around, and paint will come off. Again, though, you can't do this with a synthetic brush, it won't hold up. But if it's a natural bristle brush, you can save it. And this is a really cheap brush, but still, and now it's back to normal. And I'm just washing it in some water. And there, see? Easy. Okay, I got that at the dollar store. Here's the little sewing box. I put the scissors in there, but I'm going to take them out. I painted them silver. I'm going to paint this box to match the sewing machine, the outside. And I'm just going to use the same apple barrel burnt umber paint that I used on the sewing machine. I'm not sanding it, though. I'm just going to paint right over what's there. I'm only going to give it, I'm probably going to paint it twice, but I don't remember if I did or not. I think maybe I only gave it one coat of paint, actually. I wasn't that interested in having it look, exactly the same. So a little bit of the wood showing through, actually, I think looks better if you can manage it. I'm just going to do the front of the drawer, a little thread drawer that's underneath. It has a little tape measure, cute little tape measure. And it's drying still. It's a little wet on top still, so. And I'll put a little gold chrome marker on the little drawer pull that's on that drawer. Scissors look quite a bit bigger than they should be, but they were the ones that were glued right on the top. And I'm just going to go around and touch this up. I took the two little pieces of ribbon on each side off because they were just kind of messy, and it really doesn't need it. So I touched it up on the inside too, because it was supposed to have a little pair of scissors that it came with, I think, and I think they fell off or something. They looked like it didn't really look like scissors. There's the front of the drawer. I put a little gold dot of chrome on that just so it would show up. There's the spools of thread. It's cute. Okay. That's pretty much finished. Now this is the wallpaper that I'm going to use in my attic sewing room. And I'm going to set up a little bit of a room with my forced perspective box so you can kind of get an idea where I'm going. So I wallpapered some panels, and like I said, this is the wallpaper. This is actually from the 1930s. It was a sample of an antique wallpaper, but I did do some work on it in Photoshop to make it look better and more consistent. And here's the before sewing machine. And here's the after. So I think there's an improvement there. And it actually, the treadle goes back and forth. And here's some patterns I made. And that's a table I had with some fabric, just to give you an idea of where I'm going with this. But there will be a sewing mannequin and other things in the room too, like a shelf with fabrics folded up on it and many more patterns. But that's just a sort of a sample of what the attic may look like. And there's the doll. And she's looking at one of the 1930s McCall's pattern. Well, thank you for watching, and I hope you'll like and subscribe and visit my community page. Bye-bye.